Hello and welcome to the SteamLUG Cast on the 17th October of 2014. Today with me is Cheese, hello.
Hi.
And Derrida.
Hello.
And Nemoda.
Hello again.
Hooray!
Can you hear me?
Hooray!
Yay.
So, what's everyone been up to lately? Gordon, what have you been playing?
Oh, not much in the last 2 weeks, but as I've told already when I've been to the Gamescom, I like to play Alien Isolation, and it's out now, and I played it a little bit, and it's really scary. I played only 4 hours yet, and I've only met the alien once, and it found me and killed me, and I was too scared to play further. But that's the only one I played in the last time.
And that's not on Linux yet, is it?
Unfortunately, no. And it's not running with wine, so...
It's all good.
And it's a Sega game, so can we even expect a Linux version?
We've got at least
Ever.
one Linux Sega game at the moment.
Which one is that? Remind me.
The Cave?
Yeah, that's probably a partner publishing deal instead of a generally publisher-made deal.
Yeah, it could be.
So yeah, geez, what have you been playing?
I haven't had much time for games at all. Steam says that I've played 12 hours in the past week, but I call shenanigans on that. I must have left something open. I've played a tiny bit of Sanctum 2, a little bit of Papo and Yo. I managed to do 2 Necrodancer daily challenges and played some Pulsar. But with Necrodancer, I came so close to finishing on the daily challenge. I was down to 1 heart in the very first level, 1-1, and I made a mistake and just got smashed in the face by a Minotaur, and then spent the rest of the game going, oh, I'm gonna die to a bat or something, immediately, and managed to get all the way to 3-3 before stupidly shooting a fire pot while standing on hot coals.
Whoops.
It was a killer run though. It was fantastic. But yeah, what about you, Dorito? What have you been playing?
I have also not been playing all that much, but Counter-Strike Global Offensive has been the main game I've played recently, a lot with people from the community, competitive games, and we didn't really manage to win all that many of them. But it's fun nevertheless. Also played some Pulsar, The Lost Colony, with Cheese, and who else was there?
Hooray!
Also people from the community. Though
Yeah.
we had some problems with practically desyncing every time we killed an enemy, and I was hosting, everything was fine on my end, and everybody else was still seeing ghost ships.
No, they rolled back to a different engine version, so we were using an unofficial binary.
Yeah, that is... I guess they did that to fix the graphic glitches they introduced with the last version, but they didn't reappear when we used the updated binary. So I don't know if that was a proper choice there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I reached out to them and said, hi, this is what's going on, and it seemed like they were not quite aware of those issues and were glad to hear more details. So yeah, fingers crossed that we get some extra movement in that direction.
And I've also very briefly played A Golden Wake, which is a new point-and-click adventure by Red Jedi Games, though it hasn't really captured me yet, and I can't tell much about it except that you're like a salesperson who goes to the Miami area during a land boom there, and the story hasn't even developed enough to where I played, so I can't even tell you if there's anything bigger going on, but it looks interesting.
Yeah.
Nemoda, what have you been playing?
Well, after that Crusader Kings 2 event we had, that kind of got me acquainted with the game, and so that sucked up a lot of time. Definitely a time sink game, but it's been pretty fun. They recently had a huge update, and I had to actually roll it back so I could continue my previous game, but it's been fun. And of course, we did some Guns of Icarus online. We had some cool events there, and Tropico 5, and I'm still playing Factorio. What are you up to, Corbin?
I just see I've played a little bit more in the last 2 weeks. I've played Left 4 Dead 2 and Gas Guzzlers Extreme. And as I've read, Gas Guzzlers Extreme is still coming to Linux. They are still porting it, but the guy who was porting it has been ill, so there's no time for the release or something. And at the moment on Wine, it's a little bit broken, as you have a black box in the middle of the screen. Some textures are broken or something. And yeah, that's kind of game breaking. But the game is some fun. It's like Flatout 2 with weapons.
Cool.
Sweet.
And Flatout 2, the GOG.com version, is running really great on Linux. Better than my Wine installation before, even though it's not a native Linux game. Yeah.
So, moving on to community stuff. There have been events. Quite a lot of them, actually, and big games. So,
Yeah, tell us about them.
in the beginning of the month, we had Borderlands 2. How did that turn out? I wasn't there.
Me neither. Even though I would like to have attended.
But I guess it was full. I mean, my friends list was lighting up with Borderlands 2 in that evening. I think Bean has played a lot. So, but none of us have so. Moving on to Crusader Kings 2. I guess Nemoda can tell us about that one.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. We had a few issues where it desynced, but because it autosaves constantly, we were able to just resume it from the start of the year, which worked pretty well. And we had, quite a few people join in, and it was pretty fun. We didn't, of course, get very far in the limited time that the game takes to play out, but we had a lot of fun.
Sweet. We also had Tropico 5 and Team Fortress 2. Of those, Team F2 was the only one I attended, and as always, we had full servers and lots of people playing for fun.
Yeah, nobody actually showed up for Tropico 5, which is a little disappointing, but I think it's understandable since it was only scheduled like the day before and nobody knew about it, so...
Yeah.
well.
We got to sort out our event announcement stuff, improve things a bit better there.
Yeah, about Team Fortress 2, are we lying to the community? Because all our event descriptions still say if the server's full, Cheese will drop some presents. Are you just doing that to bait them?
No, I dropped some gifts.
Nice.
Yeah, it's turning out to be an expensive endeavor for me, but I enjoy it. It's worthwhile.
Yes, ruin yourself financially for the benefit of strangers. Do that.
It's all good.
So the community says thank you.
On the horizon, after the cast, we got our first Counter-Strike Go event, which people should hang around and join us for. And tomorrow we've got Interstellar Marines, and the rest of October's event lineup is still to be confirmed.
Oh.
About
Counter-Strike Global Offensive, is it working on Wine on Linux now without problems?
Yeah, they pretty much fixed most of the issues. Now there are like detailed issues, but the big ones where you didn't get mouse in any kind of the old style menus, only in the scale form, new UI stuff. They fixed that. Also the rendering bug they had works now, and it has worked on locales that use decimal for commas for decimal separation. That they fixed that almost instantly. So yeah, it's in pretty good shape. It's like the perfect time to have the event for that.
Nice.
Though, one thing being said, if you are on newer NVIDIA drivers, there is an issue where the game just sometimes degrades in performance, and there's bugger all you can do about it except change your resolution and crash on next map change or restart the game. So if you have that during the event, just don't fiddle around with the options, just restart and come back.
Oh, okay. Nice to know.
And about event scheduling this month, I made that a bit. I could have scheduled events beforehand, but I was thinking about maybe seeing how the effect where people leave because of event spam every month, if that is a bit remedied, but I guess it wasn't that big of an issue anymore. Most people have settled with event spam.
Yeah. I mean, the day-to-day people we have leaving the group, because we get, the signal-to-noise ratio there is quite high. We have 5 to 10 people leaving the group every day, and, 10 to 15 people join the group every day, and it doesn't seem to go up or down when we have events scheduled anyway.
Just another question to the events. Interstellar Marines, is that also working now with own servers?
Actually, I have no idea.
Because last time I tried it, there were only 2 servers from the publishers online, and they were always full. But I haven't tried it now for a long time, so I don't know.
This has a co-op mode now, so I hope it works. I mean, you should be able to host a co-op mode locally. It's a bit silly to have the requirement for dedicated servers there.
Ah, okay. Is the co-op mode with how many people? Do you know that?
No. I scheduled that one on a recommendation someone made, and I don't even know who.
I believe Hero was playing it, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's back on the events front for a moment. Even though we haven't noticed a significant, loss in group members when we schedule events, we do acknowledge that that it is painful and irritating for people who don't want to see those notifications. So we're still trying to do what we can to get around that and hopefully find some nice ways of dealing with that. But it's hard to know where things are going to go on that front.
So yeah, other community stuff. Here's something Cheese is excited about. 7-day FPS is coming up again. You have been following it closely.
Yes.
Tell us all about it.
We finally have a date for 7-day FPS 2014. Starts on the 8th of November. And there have been a couple of people expressing interest in doing another SteamLUG game. Not sure what kind of shape that's going to take. You said are interested in being involved with that, Namoda, yeah?
I
Oh,
guess
he left
he
again.
has
He
some
doesn't love us.
technical issues.
Yeah. And you were talking about maybe doing something, Dorito, or was there another thing that was around the same time that you were considering making something for?
Well, I have talked about it. I might just do it. I don't have any grandiose ideas, but just get a fun little shooty kill game going. That might be something.
Yeah. Well, at the moment, it looks like the SteamLUG group is still working out engine tech and that sort of stuff, just working out what to use. And there are a few ideas being thrown around, turn-based first-person game, or trying to revisit Haunt from last year and get it polished up into something that can be released. So there are a couple of options there. Looks like some interesting stuff could happen.
I guess that's the whole point.
Yeah, a lot of it was just coming down to what engine we could use and what tools we have available natively.
Yeah. I'm going to be doing my own game, so I won't be that active in the SteamLUG thing, but I'll totally try and hang around and offer advice or lend a hand when I've got a second. But yeah, if anybody wants to get in on that, totally, join in the discussion in the forum thread. We've got a separate IRC channel set up to discuss stuff, so yeah, join in if you're keen. Our good friend Soab has published 2 more port reports, this time looking at Borderlands 2 and Tropico 5. Have any of you fellows had a chance to look at those?
Yeah, I looked through it a little bit.
I've briefly glanced over them. It seems like Borderlands 2 isn't holding up that great.
It seems like they're all perform well enough to be, more than playable.
Yeah, there's some performance differences, but as far as like feature-wise, it looks like really spot on. I mean, it's really hard to notice that much of a difference.
An interesting thing I had, I played it with Wine on my Ubuntu, and I had kind of, how to describe, kind of lag. If I move with the mouse, then it jumps for a second. And the same issue is on Linux on the native version. So it's really quite full-featured.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mean to say it's unplayable, but looking at the benchmarks here, if you don't manually do some export an environment variable for threaded optimizations, you get less than half the performance of the Windows build on average, which is significant, I must say. And Tropico 5 is doing a lot better on that front.
John's saying in chat that the Borderlands on other platforms is a little bit buggy as well, and that it's a good port considering the state that it's in. I don't know, I never played it.
I heard the other day that the new game, the prequel game, actually has a lot better controls and smoother play.
And Soab is keen to hear feedback on these reports, so do get in touch if you've got anything you want to share about them. Any directions that you'd like to see him go in for future things. He's keen to make them a little bit deeper. So yeah, totally get in touch and say hi. Let him know what you appreciate. to coincide with the release of Costume Quest 2, I made my first Twitter bot, which tweets some random lines from a character in the game. If anybody's excited by that, feel free to follow CQ2 Candycorn.
Yay!
Yay! We're playing, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but we're playing Papua Neo for Game Club at the moment. We're hoping to have developers join us at some point. So if anybody's keen to chat with other people about that game, feel free to drop by.
Very nice. I enjoyed that a lot.
That's a bit of a new one for Game Club, isn't it? Like a platformer, action-adventure type game?
We've done a bunch of third-person platformer games. We've even done a couple of FPS games. But yeah, it's not our usual fare. It's not a point-and-click adventure. And it's got a different level of content matter to the other stuff we do as well, which is cool.
Is Papua Neo on Linux?
Yeah.
It's not on Steam as far as I know.
Yeah.
But it's
No.
definitely had a Linux port in one of the bundles.
Yeah, you can get it through Humble Store at the moment.
I guess it's just laziness that stops them from uploading it, because it has been working quite well for me when I tried it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's actually one of the best Unreal 3 ports of any game I've played.
But yeah, it's a pretty cool game.
Yeah, I heard about it and I wanted to play it.
Yeah. Last cast, we mentioned that we were doing stacking for Game Club, and in the final Game Club session, Lee shared a whole bunch of mostly new concept art that people hadn't seen before of the game, which is pretty cool. If anybody is interested in checking that out, I compiled them into a forum post. It's kind of nice to get that that alternative window into things that might have been. I especially love the giant dinosaur stacking dolls in the museum. Seems like it could have been some fun there.
Did any concept art show a game concept where they didn't rely on taking the control away from the player every 5 seconds? If you haven't noticed...
It's funny, I don't actually see that in any of the concept art.
I will never let that one go.
It could have been very different.
That game still makes me angry.
It's all good.
Moving on to news that don't make us angry, or me angry, tech news. Unreal Engine 4.5 has released with an experimental Linux editor and other Linux fixes. Has anyone tried compiling that and working with it?
No.
Not yet, but I do plan to take a look at it when I get some time.
Yeah, it's hard to say because it's so early. But this might be something that's being considered for the SteamLUG 70 FPS game. So maybe we'll get a chance to dive into that. But it's risky to jump on something that's so new and is not officially supported. They're saying that it's experimental and not actively supported. So it's kind of a use at your own risk thing, I think.
Still cool to see it out and working.
Yeah, totally. And I like that under gameplay and framework in the changelog it says implemented some missing Linux-specific platform functionality.
Nice.
Wonder what that's all about. But on top of that, there's a whole bunch of build stuff that's been changed, and they've aimed to simplify the build process for Linux users. It's got better multi-monitor support, and yeah, a few other little bits and pieces. So for people who are interested, definitely check that out.
So NVIDIA's got some news. I guess they're adding the Physics SDK to Linux, and I don't know how many games will be able to support that right off the bat, but at least the SDK is out there for those that want to look at it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to know whether or not we're going to see anything that's already out move up to that.
No idea, but it's nice to have this stuff, even though it's one of those proprietary vendor-specific APIs. If it's there, you should be able to use it anyway. And most Linux users buy NVIDIA either way, because why would you buy AMD at the moment? If you want a game, you don't.
It's so bad.
And yeah, we should probably highlight that it's GPU acceleration that this new release is bringing to PhysX. PhysX itself has been available for Linux for a while.
Yes, that's...
For years.
Yeah.
So a game like Borderlands, which in generally supports physics, is it not supporting physics at the moment on Linux, right?
Only the limited, reduced CPU kind of thing you would also get on Windows using an AMD graphics card.
Oh.
Yeah. And like it's whether or not they may or may not be interested in upgrading to the newer PhysX SDK. It's hard to know. But yeah. Also happening or on the horizon is some changes to Flibbert's FNA repository. He's paving the way for things that are going to happen later in the year, I think. Separating the project and giving it its own identity beyond being a fork of Monogame, which is pretty cool.
So you might want to give some background on what FNA is and how that affects gaming. I don't know how many people really have followed that.
Yeah, so it's it started as a fork of Monogame that has some slightly different priorities and aims to sidestep some of the ways that the Monogame project works, and it's been used by Flibbit for a couple of the ports that he's done.
And one important thing here is it tries to be really accurate to the entire XNA stuff. It tries to be a very accurate implementation of that, not like Monogame, which might drop some accurate behavior in favor of being just on every platform out there.
So it should basically make porting a lot easier for games that are targeting, the that whole mono stack.
Or for games that aren't yet targeting mono, that want to move across. But yeah, so interesting times ahead. Moving on to gaming news. Yeah.
Borderlands, the pre-sequel has been released. Yay!
That's a lot of Borderlands in a very short time, and not talking anything about the game's quality. Just a question, do you guys think it's, just on the Linux side of things, financially, business-like, a bad move to release Borderlands with all the DLCs so cheap just before you also release Borderlands the pre-sequel? Aren't they cannibalizing Linux sales in that respect?
I think a lot of people had probably played Borderlands 2 already, either in Wine or on consoles or something. So I don't think it's something that is overloading the user base.
If this new game is their sort of flagship thing that they're trying to promote at the moment, then releasing Borderlands 2 on Linux is totally, it's advertising. It's to get people into the series so that they can buy the full-priced game at release.
Fair enough. Though the games are so very similar that some people might just say, this is enough for now. It's not distinguished enough to shell out the full price for it right now.
I imagine that that this is one of the reasons that it's been able to land so quickly, is that if it is so similar, then perhaps the porting work for doing them both was pretty much the same.
I would imagine so. The game doesn't even come out for the next gen, but already outdated consoles, PS4 and Xbone. It seems to be really just sitting right on top of what Borderlands 2 was, and being, I guess Total Biscuit called it full price DLC or whatever, because of how similar it is to Borderlands 2.
Well, it's still pretty awesome that it was released the same day for both platforms, which we're starting to see a lot more games do that, which is really encouraging.
And I guess that's another thing that having an existing title on the platform allowed, was that they could work through launch bugs and feel more confident doing a same-day release.
That is definitely valid.
Yeah.
Well, one aspect of Borderlands, or Borderlands the pre-sequel, is that cloud save games are not cross-platform. So if you play Mac or play on Windows, you have to start over.
I guess you could circumvent that by just disabling the silly, mostly useless cloud save features and get a USB stick and manually port these things over.
I haven't tried that yet. Maybe that's possible. But maybe they're not compatible at all.
I don't know, but it's worth a try. I think this is the default standard restriction with cloud saves yet, which render them kind of silly, I think.
Maybe the Mac and Linux save games are compatible, as both ports are made by Aspira, right?
Yes, I don't know.
Yes, so maybe those are compatible, but the Windows and Mac, that didn't work out yet. But okay. If you play on Linux anyway, that's not a measure, not an issue.
So Euphoria HD is out for Linux and is on Steam at the moment. So that's pretty cool. Any of you guys had a chance to check out the HD version?
No, I played the non-HD version, so what's the difference? Just graphics?
That was what I was going to ask.
Okay.
How is the game? I heard it kind of got mixed reviews.
I had a bit of a go of it when it was in a Humble Bundle, or maybe before that. I can't really remember, but I've played a little bit of it, and it's kind of neat. Fairly slow paced. Yeah,
it's a kind of strategy game.
Reminded me of Galcon a little bit.
Which was the last game? Starcom, which is out for Linux now, I think, on Steam. And I think they're quite similar.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that Starcom game did make it to Steam. Hey. Assault Android Cactus has had another large update, which brings in a new character called Peanut, and the white box test version of upcoming boss called Venom. It's this huge, massive sort of spider boss, and offers a lot of bullet hell type gameplay, which there isn't a huge amount of bullet hell type gameplay in Assault Android Cactus. It's kind of neat to see something like that in the game for the final boss. I think it's pretty awesome. I haven't had a chance to play a lot of that yet, but I got up to his second last, health bar stage thing. I think before I died, and yeah, I'm really kind of enjoying it so far. Definitely worth taking a look at if you're into Assault Android Cactus. Feels like they're getting closer and closer to release.
Nice. So the indie box has added another title, I guess, and they're doing Brutal Legend limited edition boxes. Looks really cool.
Yeah. This is the first time they've pre-announced a box, I think. So it'd be interesting to see what kind of response they end up getting. The idea is that if you subscribe before October the 23rd, you'll get a copy of a Brutal Legend limited edition, which includes Linux builds and stuff. You can subscribe for 1 month and just get the one thing, or you can subscribe for a bunch of months and get whatever they happen to do over the coming months and save a bit of money per unit, if that's exciting to you.
It's a neat concept. I'm personally out of space for game boxes, so it's kind of something I can't really get into anymore, but yeah, I hope that they succeed with it.
Retro style.
They're the small form factor boxes, they're not the huge ones, so the ones that are kind of twice as thick as a DVD case kind of thing.
Yeah, and shipping outside the US and Canada ruins it for me. This is completely out of the question. I was kind of interested, but looking at the shipping, nope, that's just too much of a markup on the actual thing.
Yeah, it doubles the cost for me, but $30 for a boxed game is still pretty cheap here, so I was okay with that.
But not for a novelty indie game I already own anyway. This is just something to put on display, not something you want because you want that game for most people.
It's a collector's edition.
Yeah, it totally is. And it's worth noting that it comes with a bunch of extras. They put effort into to trying to give you something interesting and cool.
Does it come with a licensed soundtrack?
The things that are in the Brutal Legend box haven't yet been announced, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that for the existing tracks, that the licensing fees make a proper soundtrack very, very unlikely.
Yeah, that was more like a rhetorical question.
Right. But the last one for last month was Luftrausers, and that came with one of those foam planes which have a little plastic cap on the front that you can give them a bit of extra weight so you can throw them around. They're kind of cool. Came with a medal and a manual and a sew-on patch and stuff. It looks kind of cool. But yeah, the thing for me about the indie box is I can't really justify a proper subscription because I'm only interested in box versions of games that I really care about. So I might get the Luftrausers one, I might get the Forced one, but I just can't really justify shelling out for ones I haven't seen yet. which is why it's nice that they pre-announced the Brutal Legend one. But definitely cool for fans of boxed games. Shovel Knight is now available for anybody who's keen on some retro platformer action. I had a quick go of that last night, and it's got a lot of charm to it. It's pretty cool. Any of you fellows heard of it?
Yeah, it has been favorably reviewed pretty much everywhere. Like, a really good implementation of a retro-style, NES-style platformer. And it can be hard, but genuinely fair hard, I've heard.
So far, I haven't played a lot. I think I've played about half an hour, and that's it. But so far, it hasn't been hard at all. But it certainly has a lot of charm, and yeah, it's kind of, I don't know why, it reminds me a bit of playing like Wonder Boy and stuff. Back in the day when people played Wonder Boy.
People didn't really play Wonder Boy. People played Super Mario. You played Wonder Boy, which is okay.
Wonder Boy is way better than Super Mario.
I never heard of Wonder Boy.
Really?
No.
Wow, I thought it was this huge dominant franchise.
Is it like Diana Sisters or what?
It's kind of, I don't know, is it almost like an RPG, I guess? Side-scrolling, but it's totally like a beat 'em up. You just kind of get, increased weapons and equipment over time as you play the game, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was cool. I played it on the Amiga, and I had a friend who had it on the Sega Master System, I think. And it's been on a bunch of other platforms. No, it's totally big game. Everyone knows it. You've all played it. You're all lying.
Seems like more than just the toilets flush the other way down under.
But yeah, Monster Boy, not on Linux. Don't check it out. Monster Boy, Wonder Boy in Monsterland.
Monster Boy.
Dear. So, GOG has hit a milestone.
Yes, 100 titles. And some of the newest additions include Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, the originals, Wrapped in Wine, and Planescape Torment in Wine. So you finally can play these acclaimed classics on Linux with support. Though it's a bit sad that GemRB doesn't seem to be in shape to play these games. It's GemRB, if you don't know, is an open source version of the Infinity engine. And it has been around for quite some time, but apparently it's not good enough to ship games with it, which makes me grind my teeth a bit. Work on something like that for so long, and the best opportunity to ever use it just is being missed because your stuff isn't good enough. To ask John Drinkwater's question, Infinity Engine is the engine that all these old classic Black Isle Interplay RPGs used, like Baldur's Gate and Planescape Torment.
There has been a time where you could sign into the beta for the Galaxy client, but that's already closed, I see.
Oh.
I managed to squeeze my email in there. Let's see how that turns out.
And then you'll get a free copy of Aliens vs. Predator, the first version.
Yeah, I have one on Steam already. I bought it for really cheap, and when I tried to play it, I figured out that, yeah, that's why it was so cheap. It doesn't hold up as good as Aliens vs. Predator 2.
Yeah, but as far as I remember, it was from Rebellion, and it had a co-op mode. And Rebellion made the Alien vs. Predator from 2010, which works in Wine, at least.
No.
That was really bad.
We can't discuss about that.
I have to say, I'm super excited to have Silent Service 1 and 2 officially on Linux. And you're all going to tell me that you never played Silent Service either.
I played it on my NES.
I never did.
Was it on the NES? Mad. That's a pretty cool sort of submarine simulator.
Just takes a bit of imagination.
Those were the kinds of games I never liked, like tank and plane and submarine simulation, when the technology was just way too crappy for it to actually work.
It worked. It was enjoyable. Nothing wrong with that.
Excellent.
And also on the GOG front, they had a sort of live Q&A chat where they confirmed that Galaxy is coming for Linux, and they also mentioned that they'd like to do some kind of open API and allow community clients to exist, which is cool. For anybody interested in hearing that stuff, head to about 49.5 minutes in the archive there.
That sounds really cool. That's something that I really wish more games would do, is offer dedicated LAN servers or just any kind of general offline LAN play.
I'm pretty excited about that. Planetary Annihilation has gained an offline mode. It's really nice to see Uber, understanding and recognizing that that's desired by people. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's mostly just more balance issues and some work on their single player.
I haven't had a chance to look through the rest of the changelog to see if there's anything else that's exciting in the patch. So they've done some UI polish as well, which is cool. Try of Friendship and Madness has been released. It's one I've been keeping an eye on for a little while, but haven't yet had a chance to play. Any of you guys checked it out?
Nope.
It's a pretty neat looking first-person puzzle game. Sigils of Elohim is also out, which is a free game that Crow Team, the creators of Serious Sam, have pushed out to promote their upcoming game, The Talos Principle. It looks like this kind of, almost Tetris-ish feel to it.
I just briefly looked at the video. It looks kind of interesting, at least as a prelude to their main game.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether this helps raise awareness for it, how well it's received, whether this kind of, free game as a promotional thing for another game is going to go well.
Yeah, it's cool from Crow Team. Because as far as I remember, they have been the first to publish their Serious Sam on Linux. One of the first games.
Yeah, on Steam.
At least for Steam on Linux.
Yeah. No, it's good to see them continuing with Linux support.
I guess that's a bit of the benefits of having your own engine and seeing how Linux is mostly a sunk cost for you once you are there.
I'm not sure that it does use the same engine, though.
This puzzler doesn't look like it, but the Talos Principle, that looks like their engine.
Yeah, that's what I was reading. Scrolls, the turn-based strategy thing from Mojang, has a Linux beta, if people are excited by that. It's been a long time in coming. I know that people have been waiting for quite some time to see that game.
Mojang, isn't that the company that's now owned by Microsoft?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I wouldn't be surprised if you now get into Scrolls and 6 months down the line the Linux version is no longer updated because Microsoft is Microsoft.
Maybe.
Is it Scrolls also Java based?
It's Unity.
No, that's Unity based. So there's no good reason why they couldn't have had this version out months ago.
I would be willing to bet that Microsoft would probably have them just start over on a lot of their games.
Let's hope for the best.
I got the impression previously that one of the reasons that they were holding off on the Linux client was something to do with the launcher, or saying that the launcher wasn't up to scratch on Linux. I don't know. It seems exactly the same on Mac OS for Unity, and I don't know what they're talking about.
Yes, and everybody just circumvented it by putting the options in game where they are better off anyway. So I don't really get that. I mean, Mojang is not a company that ever was committed to Linux at all. If you go to Minecraft.net and went there anytime in the last years, they say it's a game for Windows and Mac OS X. They never mention Linux. Actually, they even removed their mention of Linux when it was pretty much just Notch's game. They had there was a message like, if you want to play it on Linux, okay, we don't officially support it, but please use the official Java runtime and not like OpenJDK, because at the time OpenJDK wasn't a good option. But now that's gone, and you pretty much just run it on Linux because it works there by itself. Because Java. So Mojang was never committed to Linux, so it could be very easy for Microsoft to wind down that never officially commitment.
Do we have any idea what level of autonomy Mojang is going to have as a Microsoft company? They're going to work like Bungie, where they were fairly autonomous-ish? Or have they totally been assimilated?
No idea. I am not following that company all that closely, but some people have already left, and there might be more people leaving, and eventually, if they shuffle around the entire company once, autonomy is going to be over.
Oh, interesting to see. So apparently they're entirely autonomous, according to Phil Spencer, whoever that is.
He has an Xbox for a head. Oh no, that's the head of the Xbox team. I'm sorry, John.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I don't know.
Some little man.
What people say in public from companies is not what I will take at face value at all.
Yeah.
I'm very skeptical about that.
Moving on. Costume Quest 2 has been released.
Quest 2! Yay!
Yay! Has anybody had a chance to play that?
Costume Quest 2, no, but I completed Costume Quest 1, and there's only one achievement missing. I have to play it on Christmas. And I definitely want to get Costume Quest 2 in the future.
I spent a bit of time poking around in Costume Quest 2, and it feels like it's much more polished than the original game, in terms of just ironing out the user experience and making it a bit more friendly and a bit more enjoyable.
I was surprised from the first game because I thought it seems like a game for young kids, and I started playing it and I couldn't stop. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's nice to see that they've taken the time to look at polishing up things like combat and make it a little bit less, awkward. But it seems to be running well on Linux. Yeah. For people who are into the franchise or want to check it out, it's totally out there.
Splot for Linux will be released on a later date than all the other desktop platforms. And if you don't remember what Splot is, it's that game you got in a humble indie bundle and have completely forgotten about because it wasn't released back then.
Yeah, it's kind of disappointing to see that we're not going to get a simultaneous release. And I can't speak for Frozen Byte, but it sounds like the wait might be notable.
Yep. Pixel Rift, a pretty interesting looking game for Oculus Rift DK2. I pointed that out to you, Cheese, didn't I? And I disappointed you.
And it looks like a neat game. I'm kind of keen to check it out, but the Linux build was uploaded without being tested. It only supports Oculus Rift DK2, which doesn't have SDK support on Linux. So I'm kind of keen to come back and talk about it when there is actual support there. Apparently the Linux builds are being taken down now that I've notified them that that it might have been a bit premature, and hopefully we'll see that again as soon as Oculus get off their backsides and release Linux support in the SDK.
Here's a game that caught me by surprise because I haven't been following it. Raven's Cry is a pirate-themed RPG, and it will be released on Linux as well as Windows and OS X on November the 27th. It seems like one of those German RPGs like Gothic back in the day and Risen. This time it's fully pirate-themed, not that thing they strapped onto Risen and ruined it with. So yeah, it might be interesting, but it's quite pricey, and it definitely looks like waiting for a review would be the prudent choice here, because it's published by Topware, and they aren't exactly known for the best, most polished releases ever. But you can hear some naughty shanty songs in the promo material about hanging willies and juicy Lucy's.
Charming. Yeah, I don't know about the idea of waiting for reviews, but definitely wait until you can talk to someone who's played it, if you're unsure.
By review, I mean also those people I trust who might have played it. And YouTubers that I know how they rate things, so I can judge on that. I mean, review, so it's such a classic concept, but a good word to describe. Let people vet that game for you before you waste your money. Mm-hmm.
On the crowdfunding front, I don't think we mentioned it last cast, but 4089 Ghost Within is having a crowdfunding campaign.
For $3,000, and it isn't even completed yet.
Yeah.
Dear Fruit, I like what you do, but don't try to make a franchise out of this. It will never happen.
It already is, man.
but like, if it's a franchise past people, it's not like many are buying it. And is it the third or fourth installment in the series already?
I think this is the third?
Yeah, the third one officially. There was like one before the first one people actually played somehow. That doesn't count, but I mean, if you're this deep into a franchise and can't even get your Kickstarter going past $3,000.
I think in terms of the way that things are going, he's well on track to meet his target.
Yeah, but this is a really low-balling Kickstarter.
If you
There's
say
like
so.
no denying it. That's just extremely low. $3,000 a par. If you get all the fees off of that amount.
Well, the fees are proportional. They're percentages. So, yeah. It's interesting that, before Broken Age hit, this kind of goal was not uncommon for games to have sort of a low goal just to get a bit of an extra boost for development and see them through to the end. Notably, this version will have Oculus Rift support, and been noticing Fruit on the JMonkey Engine forums in the threads where we've been talking about Oculus Rift support. So seems like that is working at the moment and moving along. And I think that's all we were going to talk about today.
If we talk really fast now, we can shell in under an hour. So,
yeah, let's do it.
If you have positive or negative feedback, you can email it to cast@steamlug.org. If you've got suggestions, just tell them to us, also on that email or in the forum on Steam and in IRC.
We'll like totally smile winsomely if you send us email. So send us email. Wink.
That's it for this cast. See you around, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
I had to make that an audible wink, sorry.
We'll just make stuff up since he's not coming on the show. We can just say what we want.
Who wants to do the intro? I see so many hands going up.
It's a thing you do.
It's a thing I do. We should totally make Corbin do it.